Hello, beautiful people. My name is Emma.
And I'm MC.
And we are your hosts of the G-Forces podcast. So, what a race today was. What a weekend. More qualifying was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it's one for the books.
That's for
It
sure.
made history with some of the stats.
That's for sure.
Not for the better, but...
What do you mean?
The red flag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely showed how difficult this course is. I think I forget every year how...
It's a really great course to watch.
Yeah,
race.
I could not imagine driving. I can't imagine driving most of them, but this one especially, I would be driving at 7 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that definitely wouldn't get you the race win.
No.
So, we are going to have our normal just recap episode. Lots to go over. Probably the majority of our conversation is going to be surrounding qualifying.
Yeah.
Because that was the
big one.
That was longer than most of the races this season, actually.
If not...
No, that was actually longer than all of the races this season.
Yeah, including the one we watched today.
Yeah.
But it was busy.
It was. All right, let's get into it. All right. Wait, no, where are we? I almost jumped over it, but I didn't.
The official race name for this weekend was the Formula One Qatar Airways Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2025, a name we've seen before. The circuit is the Baku City Circuit. This is a street track, so we're not on our traditional tracks, which adds just a whole layer of fun to the drive. The first F1 Grand Prix was held here in 2016, and the lap record, which is still in place today, was placed in 2019 by Charles Leclerc, and he did a lap in 1 minute and 43.009 seconds. I think Max did it in 1 minute and 43.334 seconds this weekend. So, close, but not there exactly. The number of laps that they did around this course was 51 laps, and one lap is 6.003 kilometers or 3.73 miles, which comes to a race distance of 306.049 kilometers or 192.03 miles. So this is one of the higher tracks when it comes to turns. There are 20 turns, I think.
That's crazy.
I think the most we have is 22 or something. I can't remember which track. I can see it in my mind. But 20 turns on this track, which is crazy, and a lot of really scary turns.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 DRS zones on this circuit. So DRS detection zone 1 is right before turn 2, and then activation begins right after turn 2. And then DRS detection zone 2 is right after turn 20, and activation begins after turn 20 in that start-finish straight. So that is the track and where we're at.
Awesome. All right, let's get into practice.
I personally feel like practice really started to show which teams were going to dominate and which weren't. I think it started to really show McLaren's struggle, and they really had issues at the beginning of FP1.
Yeah.
They needed to remove something from Lando's car, which I think, the way they phrased it, they didn't want to get caught from what the pundits were saying, but it was kind of an issue what they had left in his car. And then Oscar was having power unit issues, which just seemed to create a real negative side to the weekend for that side of the garage.
Yeah.
And it kind of only got worse from there. There was a little bit of moments in practice where it got better, but, not the best. So there were a lot of red flags this weekend. I feel like there are just certain themes like track limits. This weekend was red flag. So the first red flag of the weekend was raised when there was an issue with the curb after Carlos went over it. It's a street track, so there's going to be things that might show up that they just didn't account for, and this was just debris or something. I don't know. The guy had to pull it out of the curb. So there was that. That was the very first red flag to mark. One of many. At one point during the session, they played George Russell's radio, and it had been announced that he wasn't feeling well, and he sounded terrible.
He looked bad, too.
He sounded better today, because I saw his post-race interview. He sounded better today.
But in his post-race interview today,
he didn't look good.
Okay.
But he sounded better, because 2 days ago, he sounded like he had,
Well, he had a respiratory infection.
Yeah, did not sound good. after the red flag period was over, when they were trying to fix the curb, there was about 20 minutes left in the session. And then other than that, Lewis clipped the wall towards the end of the session. And it was, again, I feel like what happened, we saw a lot of times repeated, like the red flags or clipping of the walls. It was like, if one person did it, there was bound to be someone else that was going to like be affected by this area. So in FP1, the top times were Lando, Oscar, and Charles. You don't have anything, right? No additional notes?
No.
Okay. So for FP2, Lando hit the wall during this session, which ended it early for him. And then Oscar also hit the barriers, but he was able to rejoin the session. Ferrari did show a strong performance, but unfortunately, like, it's just, I feel like they do okay in practice, and then when it comes to quality in the race, they just end, like, to the lower of the top of the pack, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the top times for FP2 was Lewis, Charles, and then George. And then FP3, I think because of the concern of the track, this was a really safe session. Ironically, a lot of people didn't even go out right away. Like, there were a lot of people still in their garages at the beginning. And this is when we started to see how much wind there was going to be predicted for quali. And it really just seemed to be a problem that started in FP3 and would continue on. The other thing, and I didn't make a note of this, there had been storms in Azerbaijan, like in Baku, the night before. And so all the rubber that had been laid down created, like, the rain washed it away. So that's also why they were dealing with grip issues.
Weather-wise, normally Azerbaijan is pretty toasty for this race at this time of year. I mean, it's only mid-September, and whereas Azerbaijan is in, like, the in-between sections of, like, the Europe and, like, the Middle East. And it's, like, the Eurasia Middle East area.
Yeah.
So a relatively warm area of the world, and it was abnormally cold there. Like, Laura was wearing a jacket the whole weekend. It was that cold. And she's from England, so,
and it was rainy and blustery almost the entire weekend. Like, rain was predicted for quali and for the race. Yeah, it was giving...
It looked like classic fall weather.
Yeah.
But not for that part of the world.
Yeah. So, definitely going to be interesting because Singapore, which is the next race, is so much hotter. And
the results from this weekend will not translate over to the next race whatsoever.
So that's really all I had for practice. I think it was.
I had one comment about practice for FP3. So something that came out afterwards, which I think is funny now. There's a clip from his onboard, from Franco Colapinto's onboard, where during FP3 when he was out, he actually had an apple thrown at him. And you just see in his onboard an apple coming straight at his car. Interesting move. Haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because it wasn't talked about. So
I think I don't know how I saw a clip of it. I thought it was hysterical. I mean, not great for, like, the driver aspect of it. Like, that's very unsafe. Please don't throw things under the track in general. But it's kind of funny.
Oh my God.
I was nervous this whole weekend that a cat was going to get killed, though.
But yeah, because the paddock cats.
Yeah, they kept on talking about how there's so many cats just, like, all over the place in Baku. And
cats are smart. I think they'd be fine.
Oh, no, I know. I was just worried that we're going to have, like, a cat running across the track, and then it was going to be, like, Max Verstappen. And, that would be the most devastating thing for him.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now we're going to get into the crazy bit of the weekend, qualifying. Like we've been saying, qualifying was genuinely crazy. So we didn't wake up on time for qualifying because, like, we need sleep. And we knew that the next morning, the race morning, we were going to wake up for the actual race because it was going to be crazy. So we thought. And so when we wake up, we realized that qualifying had started like an hour and a half before we'd woken up, and it was still going.
It's typically only an hour. And so the fact that it was still like live and there hadn't been, normally we get a lot more like alerts on our phones for results. So I was like, oh my God, something must have happened. It's still going on. And did things freaking happen.
And so we started at like 8:45 in the morning for us. And when we realized that, we knew it was going to be crazy. So Q1 starts, and pretty quickly into Q1, we have Alex Albon hit the barrier. I believe I don't think he'd even gotten like a full lap in yet.
No, he hit the inside wall at turn 1.
Yeah, and that completely like messed up his suspension, and he was out.
It messed up a lot of people's run times as well, because at this point, I mean, as most people know, quali, if there's a red flag lifted, it pauses the time. So like unlike practice where the clock keeps running, the problem is that you need to do certain like the drivers need to run through certain like warm-ups and things like that to get ready for their lap. And so I think only like 3 or 4 people were able to put a lap time on the board at this point, and then red flags were lifted as I think a few people were in the middle of their lap or about to finish, and then other people hadn't even started. So
Yeah.
it definitely, when red flags are lifted in quali, it definitely adds a lot of stress to the performance plan.
Yeah, because it throws off the rest of the grid too.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then safety, or I think it was just a red flag. It might have been I think it was a full safety car getting it out, and so because it's a red flag, everybody has to stop. And then everything's cleared up, and then everyone goes back out. And about 6 minutes later, we have Hulkenberg crash at turn 4. But this was an okay crash because all he needed was a front wing replacement. So he actually just went straight into the pit and was fine.
He went head on into, I can't remember which turn.
It was like the perfect crash.
Left his front wing on the track and drove away with no front wing, and then just got a new one.
Yeah.
They have like enough spares. But yeah, he was able to keep going.
Well, and this was, so as he crashed, a yellow flag came out, and Oscar was actually finishing up his lap, his fast lap. And as Oscar crossed the finish line, red flag came up.
So he was able to get his time in.
And we were like, thank God. Like, that was so close. It was like the second he crossed the finish line, the red flag came up, which is a little coincidental.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start. No tinfoil hat. Pierre also goes off towards the end of the session.
Hold on. So Kimi had his lap time deleted and was under investigation, and you could tell he was panicked to get a good time on the board because at that point he was in a smaller like crunch, like he just
needed a lap time.
He was able to pull in a really good lap and move up to 6th, and then this is when the Alpines have their moment.
Yeah, so Pierre crashes.
Well, no, I don't even know if he crashed or just went off into the runoff.
It was like a slight crash into the
runoff. Yeah.
Like I think,
but he was able to keep driving.
There was some damage,
but he got back to the pits.
Yeah. And then right behind him was his teammate Franco Colapinto doing a fast lap, and he ends up seeing Pierre crash, and then I think that threw him off. And then he ends up crashing into the next corner, and his damage was bad.
Yeah, he went head on. It wasn't good. He was done. He got out of, he had to get out of the car, whereas Pierre had, got to drive back to the pits. Definitely a weird moment, and there, in his defense, I don't know what exactly happened if he was distracted by Pierre, but there were wind gusts that were happening, and, those cars are light, so give him the benefit of the doubt, but
I thought he would just get distracted by Pierre's crash. I thought he was just
distracted too, but we might never know.
Yeah. So those who ended up getting out in Q1 were Franco Colapinto, Nico Hulkenberg, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, and then Alex Albon. I'm pretty sure Esteban Ocon had was very close to getting out, but then I think he had a time deleted or something.
I can't remember.
Anyways, he got out. But there's more to his story later on. Q2 happens. So Q2, almost immediately into it, Isaac goes off into one of the runoff areas, but he's fine, and he ends up turning it back around and gets back out on the track. A red flag does come up, though, when there's about 11 minutes left.
The fourth one, to be exact.
Yeah. And this is Ollie who crashed. And then all of the normal stuff happens. And then Charles ends up tapping the wall in the same way that Ollie had. So basically, the way that Ollie hit the wall with his like left rear tire, with one of his rear tires. I think it was his right rear tire, and it just like tapped the wall, but it tapped the wall in a way where like there was just like too
Enough
much damage.
force.
And Charles hit the wall in a very similar way, but I guess it wasn't as much force as the way Aldi had. And Charles just kept going, and he was totally fine, which was kind of crazy. Do you have anything else for Q2? Then who got out?
Lewis just seemed to really struggle in this session. It wasn't a good one for him. I don't think he has the pace in this car at all. I think that's really what it is.
No.
I think he's just driving a brick at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
So knocked out of that session was Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Gabriel Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, and Ollie Behrman.
Yeah. So then for Q3, immediately into the session, we have George crashing.
George
crashes immediately, and a yellow flag came out, which caused Lando to then abandon his lap. Yeah.
I barely remember that. I must have missed that part.
I think his car was fine. I don't know. I can't remember.
I think so.
I'm going to double check the results for qualifying.
Yeah, I have the results right here. He came in 5th. So he must have been fine.
But also, a bunch of stuff happened during that session that, like, Carlos's one lap that he did
got him where...
Yeah.
Anyways, you're probably right.
Yeah. So George crashed almost immediately, and Lando was in the middle of doing a fast lap, but he had to abandon it because the yellow flag came out, and then I believe a red flag ended up coming out. In the wall next goes Charles.
Yep.
Which was a stunner.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Our jaws were on the ground. Definitely.
So, in the last 4 years, Charles has gotten pole every time in Baku.
Not this time.
Definitely not this time. I think there was just, like, a surprise with the amount of people that were crashing and, like, who was crashing.
Yeah.
So, because the red flag goes up because of that, and then we have about 7 minutes left of the session. And then, with about 4 minutes left of the session, we have Oscar go into the wall. And then a red flag comes out. Yeah. So if you can tell, like, okay, George crashes almost immediately, so that's like 2 minutes into the session, like a minute into the session.
It was pure luck getting a time.
Yeah, Charles crashing with about 7 minutes left, and then Lando crashing with about Oscar crashing with about 4 minutes left. Like, time-wise, to be able to get a lap in, yeah, you had to have so much luck to be able to have gotten that lap in.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people only did, like, really their one fast lap at the very end.
Yeah.
And so, at this point, all we know is Carlos is currently on pole.
Yeah.
Carlos put in a mega lap.
Well, and then the threat of rain.
Yeah, we had rain that was potentially going to happen. And so, everyone, once Oscar's car is out of the way, everyone's trying to get in their laps left. And right now, we're just crossing our fingers because we're like, oh my gosh, Carlos is on pole for Williams. The last time Williams had a pole was like, I don't know, a couple years ago, if not like more than that. I think it was 2014 the last time they were on pole, or 2017 or something.
Yeah, and the last time they were on a podium was 2020 or 2021.
2021 with George.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. And then, of course, the one person who always will take it at the end, the Max Verstappen. Which, not surprising. I don't think Carlos was surprised. I think Carlos was just happy that he had that one really good lap.
Yeah, I think at this point, he's gonna take what he can get.
Yeah,
100%. He's on the front row. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But
well, do you want to read the order for Q3?
So the top 10 was Max in pole position, Carlos in second in the front row, Liam Lawson in third, Kimi Antonelli in fourth, which I think Kimi sorely needed, George Russell in fifth, Yuki Tsunoda in sixth, which, let's all take a moment and think about how good Yuki's performing now with a new team principal. Anyways, Lando Norris is in 7th, Isaac Hadjar is in 8th, Oscar Piastri is in 9th, and Charles Leclerc is in 10th. Now, you have, depends on who you are, you might think Liam is a rookie. I kind of put him in a rookie. You have Liam, you have Kimi, and you have Isaac all up there. You have certain names. You don't have Fernando Alonso. You don't have Lewis Hamilton. It's crazy, some of the names that just we haven't seen in Q3 in a while.
Yeah.
And the performance of, like, Kimi and Isaac, you know, when people are being really harsh on Kimi, this is a kid who's getting to Q3. You know, yeah, he's in a Mercedes and we expect that level of performance, but yeah, that was the top 10 for this quali, which was quite a weird top 10.
Yeah. So this lasted a full 2 hours, this qualifying session. So it was double the time that it normally is. And yeah, like MC said at the beginning, there were 6 red flags in total. That's more than that's never happened before in F1 history.
In all the 75 years, it's the most red flags.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
So, quite an entertaining one. So with this, we thought tomorrow, the race
gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be insane.
Carnage.
We're gonna wake up early. We're gonna watch it.
Were we a little sorely mistaken?
Yeah, let's get into the race.
I think it was announced the day before the race, or yesterday for us, or the Saturday before, that Esteban Ocon was disqualified from qualifying. And basically what that means for the new listeners is that his time is deleted and he's put at the bottom of the grid. So he's put into P20.
When I saw the post on Instagram, I didn't read it close enough. And I come running down the stairs. I'm like, Esteban Ocon's been disqualified.
And I'm like, from qualifying.
And in my head, I was like,
from the race.
He can't race. Like, this is crazy. I've never seen this before.
And I'm just like, calmly, I'm like, I think his lap time got deleted. Read further into the article.
Yeah, she was correct.
She read further, and there it was.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking.
No, yeah.
I was just like, this is I was having a crazy day yesterday. There were some crazy things happening.
Yeah.
Anyways, the start, okay? Some people were on mediums, some people were on hards. Max Verstappen was on hards. Carlos was on mediums.
I think Liam was on medium.
I think Liam and Kimi were both on mediums as well.
And then
I think George was on hards.
Yeah. Anyways, so fair mix.
I think the 3 people who expected to not be up there at the front were on mediums, and then they were sandwiched by people who are normally at that point on hards.
Yeah, I really think it just depended on when you wanted to pit. And granted, this was stated after the race, but Hinchcliffe in the post-race show mentioned that he had spoken to Yuki, and Yuki explained that there was, like, no degradation this weekend. Yeah. That the tires, like, really were lasting for, I mean, Max went a crazy amount of laps on his tires, but...
Well, it's because I think Pirelli planned the tires and picked the tire grade based off of how hot it normally is there.
So... the top 4 really didn't change, though. They all stayed in their position for the start.
Max had his classic start, as per usual. And then, what happened after that? We see Oscar. Okay.
Upon further inspection, after assuming it was a clean start, it looked like Oscar and then, in turn, Fernando had false starts.
Well,
Oscar stalled out and ended up in P20, so... Oscar had a false start, then stalled. Because Oscar moved, Fernando based it off of Oscar, and then basically had to swerve around Oscar because then, after the false start, his car stalled.
Well, and all we knew at the start was that Oscar had dropped from 9th to 20th. That's all we knew. We didn't know about the false start yet.
And because of his power unit issues, our first assumption was, is there something wrong with the car?
Yeah.
Which... Yeah.
Well, and then he's now all the way at the back of the pack, and he's trying to pass people. I think I think our cool, calm, collected Oscar was a little panicked. And so he ends up trying to make a move, and then ends up in the wall on the first lap. Like, what was it, like turn 3 or something?
Turn 5, and his race is over before he can even finish a full lap.
And then he was in a lawn chair
watching the
race
phone
on the sidelines. Which was, Honestly, I've never seen that happen more than this season.
Yeah, that's like a new occurrence, I feel like.
Yeah, usually they get on a little motorcycle and get
drive them.
brought back.
Yeah. The cleanup for this incident was pretty fast, and they were back to racing by lap 4. And then
This did benefit the people who were on hards, though, because it gave them another lap or two
to warm up
their tires.
Yeah.
I don't know why we just said it like that. Ocon and Albon end up having, they both go into the pit during the safety car, and they switch from hards to mediums. I wonder if immediately they were like, no, thank you for the hards, and they went for the mediums. The safety car goes in at the end of lap 4. This is when we find out that Fernando Alonso gets a 5-second time penalty for the false start. Oscar Piastri did get a 5-second time penalty for his false start,
because he crashed, he couldn't
serve it. So most likely it will be translated to a 3-place grid penalty for the next race in Singapore. Yeah. So he basically has to qualify on pole.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting.
Love that.
The pressure is really building up.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now, and I'm not even the one racing.
Yeah, I think they thought it was going to be an easy win this weekend for McLaren, and I think
once practice happened, I think they knew it wasn't going to be.
Yeah. So when this restart after lap 4 happens, there was a bit of movement, and Charles was able to move past Lando. It seemed like the McLarens just could not catch a break this weekend. George and Kimi were side to side at one point, with George falling back and losing a place to Yuki as well. And then Isaac, for some reason, had a handful of drivers pass him when it was shown that he made a mistake in one of the turns. So there was that was all happening. And then to note, on top of what Emma said about the 5-second penalty served to Fernando, he did get on the radio and blatantly apologize. Hey, I was basing it off of Piastri. My apologies to the team. So he even knew. There was no argument of what? That's not true.
Fernando's grown up so much. 10 years ago, Fernando would have been expletive.
Yeah. Yeah. My next note's for lap 10.
Same. My next note, lap 10, George ends up using the DRS to pass Yuki. He was kind of up Yuki's behind. Yeah. He basically fell behind Yuki because of the little scuffle with Kimi. George was not happy about that little moment with Kimi, but based off of what Hinch said afterwards, he was Kimi saved him room.
Yeah.
There should have been racing room, so George could have probably stayed where he was, but he fell back behind Yuki. Not putting too much. I'm not gonna be hard on George considering he's got a respiratory infection.
Yeah.
So.
Also at this point, Max had a 2.1 second lead with Carlos behind, and Liam Lawson just falling out of DRS range to Carlos. So honestly, I was just happy to see Carlos being able to maintain that range, because I figured once someone is in that DRS zone, we're screwed.
I was nervous that it was gonna be a start that Carlos just got passed in the first 5 laps by so many people.
Nah, he did amazing.
I was just nervous that the Williams wouldn't perform the way we wanted it to.
I was truthfully more nervous towards the end of the race when times got closer and
No, at that point I was no, this is he's fine.
Yeah. So my next note is lap 15.
So at this point we see it gets very close between Kimi, George, and also Liam Lawson as well. Liam was actually doing a pretty good job this weekend, I would say. My next note is lap 16. So you go.
Alex and Franco pit.
Yes.
Is that what you're about? Okay, yeah.
No, that wasn't when I was in a pit, so that's lap 16 for me.
Okay, lap 15, lap 16, Alex and Franco pit, and when they come out of the pits, there is an incident. So Alex was behind Franco and attempted to pass him, and I don't know if it was just not the right time or what, but he ultimately ended up clipping Franco's tire. Franco was lucky because it looked like his car only really tapped the wall. It was a sped up version of Tokyo drifting into a parallel parking spot.
Yeah.
And Alex just drove away.
Alex ended up getting a 10-second time penalty for this.
Yeah.
which I feel like is, again, a little harsh.
It's a fact that, like, I don't know off the top of my head, is that what they've served in the past for similar incidences? Like,
I just
because
feel like it's not.
Yeah, I feel like a 5 second I would understand, but 10.
I do wonder. I feel like Alex recently has definitely picked up a couple of penalties.
Yeah.
So I don't know really what's going on there. But I'm sure that's probably gonna be a conversation that's had with the team to be a bit more careful, because when you get more penalties, there's a chance that you might not be able to race.
Yeah.
Also, lap 16, just to mention, so like MC had said a couple laps ago that Max had like a 2-point-something second lead. By lap 16, he already had a 4.9-second lead. So
Yeah.
Max was just pulling away. It was like 2023 Max again. Like, this was the most 2023 race I think we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
At least for Max, not for everybody else. Lap 19, we see Kimi go in to pit from mediums to hards. This was when, like, really the first couple of people, I would say, were starting to go in to pit.
I also think George wanted to pass Kimmy, and this gave them the opportunity to do it without having to do, like, team orders bullshit.
Well, yeah, because George was asking to pass. And I remember you were like, come on, George. And I was like, well, no, I mean, like, if he thinks that he can go faster, like, I mean, might as well switch, and if he can't make it work, then switch back.
Yeah.
That's when we found out about the 10-second time penalty for Alex. By lap 20, we see Charles go into the pits. Lap 21, we see Liam go in now to try to cover off Kimi. And lap 22, Kimi ends up passing Liam in a really great move. I can't remember it right now off the top of my head, but apparently I thought it was a great move when I watched it.
And around this time, too, Carlos is still in second behind Max with the gap that's now at 7 seconds. So, again, we're seeing that, large 2023 Max gap starting to form.
Yeah.
Carlos then finally pitted on lap 27 in the hopes that George, who was in third, would not undercut, and unfortunately, this ended up not working. He ended up coming out in second, and then when George pitted, he came out in third George came out in, he was able to come in front of Carlos in second.
I think it's because there was a bunch of cars ahead of Carlos. When he was before George pitted.
Yeah.
Because Carlos pitted, several laps before George did.
Yeah.
And I think Carlos needed to catch up a bit more to the front before George ended up going to pit. And then George pitted and, came out in front of Carlos.
Yeah. Truthfully, at this point, this is kind of when the last 20 laps, this is kind of when the excitement petered off. A lot of people were just kind of staying in the positions that they were, and there wasn't a lot of movement. Like I said, I think Max ended up pitting on lap 41, staying in the lead. Carlos never got closer to George to fight for second, but he was able to create a distance between him and Liam Lawson, who was in fourth, so that there was a larger than DRS range. Lando at one point was told to get closer to Yuki, who was in front of him, and it looks like he was struggling, so his team brought him in. And this moment was probably the biggest moment in the latter half, because it was another suffering blow to McLaren and their pit stops. I feel like the last 2 weekends we've had tire issues with Lando, or
it's usually the tire gun, or a tire is stuck and won't come off.
So Lando really needed a 2.1 second pit stop.
And it ended up being 4.1.
Yeah. So
that's happened a few times this season with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not,
to me, there's a huge, so 2023 Red Bull, the reason why Max won everything, basically,
is because they were flawless.
Yeah, they were flawless. You can have a driver like Max do what he does, but then it might get completely ruined if you have a team that is not completely flawless, and that is kind of what's happening, unfortunately. but also it seemed like the whole team was just off. Like nobody was on their A game this weekend.
Yeah. Hopefully they can brush it off. And
well, and it seems like that Andrea Stella in the post-race interview, like he basically was like, this wasn't good for anyone on the team.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone's happy at
No.
McLaren.
No.
So yeah, that's really all I have left for Azerbaijan because again, nothing.
Yeah, it was pretty
happened.
chill. I mean,
everyone was settled into their position, and
Carlos. The only thing that I really could also say is that Carlos's race engineer at one point says to him, like catching up to George, like it's not going to happen, and he's like, yeah, no, I know, just like leave me to it.
Leave me to it.
And that was kind of it. He was just kind of focused like in, and it was a little nerve-wracking watching Kimi potentially catch up, but they pretty much stayed at the same distance from each other. And then the race ended, and do you want to go over what the race order was?
Yeah, so we'll go over all 20, and I'll try to go through it quickly. So in first place, it was Max. In second place, George. Third place, it was Carlos. Fourth was Kimi. Fifth was Liam. Sixth was Yuki. Seventh was Lando. Eighth was Lewis. Ninth was Charles. 10th was Isaac. 11th was Gabby Bortoletto, 12 was Ollie Behrman, 13 was Alex Albon, 14 was Esteban Ocon, 15 was Fernando Alonso, 16 was Nico Hulkenberg, 17 was Lance Stroll, 18 was Pierre Gasly, and 19 was Franco Colapinto, and Oscar was in 20th as a DNF. So, a little bit of a shakeup. I do think that Ferrari, who we haven't really spoken about today. We talked about Charles a little bit, but I feel like Ferrari definitely...
They need the new season.
They need the new season, or they need a day like Carlos had, where they just need a win. But, going back to Williams, this is the first podium for Carlos on this team. I think it was sorely needed. I think it was a bit of confidence that I feel like everyone was just pumped.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never really seen this before. Emma said she thinks Gabby Bortoletto did it for Nico Hulkenberg, and I think you're right. Or at least, like, Gabby was, if he wasn't there, he was super involved in, like, the post-race celebration. But Alex Albon was actually, like, according to James Vowles, like, popped out of his car, did all the things he needed to, and then was, like, in his race suit, was hanging out with James, and then Carlos's manager cousin, Carlos.
All the Carloses.
Like, all of those people. And I don't know, you don't see that often, especially when I think about the moments where, like, certain people have had their first win and it's not super celebrated or things like that, where this, like, you can see that there is just a camaraderie, thank you, that I don't feel like you get all the time, and I think that's what makes us appreciate Williams so much more.
Yeah, I have more thoughts. We're gonna go to our final thoughts, and then we're gonna continue.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really like that James Vowles has explained, like in post-race interviews and just in general, is that they really treat Williams like a team, like a family. Like a lot of these drivers and a lot of the like PR people will say like, oh, like this is we're a family, like, oh, we're all a team. But like at the end of the day, like it is an individual sport as much as you have the team. And I think that Williams has really, because they've struggled so much, it's really hard for them to make it an individual sport, because
at
if
this
it's
point,
it's not, they're not going to succeed. Not one individual is going to succeed if they only push one individual. And so by making it a team, by like everyone contributing, like I'm sure there are things that both Alex and Carlos have contributed to the car this season that have enabled Carlos's position to get this podium place. And I'm a little sad that like Alex hasn't gotten a podium for Williams yet, but like he has had such a pretty successful season for himself with Williams.
Also, I think Carlos had 16 points, whereas Alex is 70.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think that this is taking anything away from Alex.
Because I also think Alex has had continued success throughout the season. He's dipped a little bit and like just falling back, but that's what affected Carlos in the first half. And I don't think and granted, again, it's the whole like we'll never truly know these people, but they don't seem like the egomaniacs that I think, not saying that some drivers are, but I think that they see
I
that it
think
needs to start as a team.
I think Alex, based off of the person that he is in the media,
Yeah.
I think he knows, and knowing his history in F1, I think he knows what it's like to have so many losses in a row to then have a win for the team. It's better to be celebrated rather than to be mopey that,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, is the times where like we see Lando and Oscar not celebrate each other's wins, and like one of them be Eeyore or like mopey about it. Like, as much as like we love watching McLaren be successful, like it really kind of is a buzzkill watching one of them be mopey around the other
Well,
person's
and it
win.
shows you the evolution of a team, of how, like, for so long it was like, you can't do this without the team, like, you need the team. And now it is, because they are at such a heightened level of success. They are 1 and 2 in the championship. It is now an individual race.
Yeah, and that's
And
the thing.
that's
Like
the difference.
Williams could get there in a couple of years,
But they're not there yet. And they
no,
know
but
it.
like I'd say McLaren right now is where Williams right now is where McLaren was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like if their trajectory continues, Williams, like they've explained, and if their car is as good as I hope it is based off of how much they've been gassing it up for next year, like I feel like they'll probably have a similar season to McLaren had in 2023, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see. But I don't know. It was really nice. It was also really funny now. So if you watch any of the stuff on Williams' social media, they had done, Alex and Carlos had watched some like fan videos that were sent in, and one of them was sent in by this little girl who had a unicorn stuffed animal, and she was asking Alex and Carlos if it should be named Sprinkles or Sparkles, and then asked if Carlos would wear a sticker of the unicorn on his helmet. And he was like, yeah, if you send it in, like, I'll wear it on my helmet, of course. And so she sent in this sticker that she designed of her unicorn named Sprinkles, I guess. And he put it on the back of his helmet. And now everyone is like, so you can never take that off.
Yeah. People are like, you have a new mascot. We see.
And they took a video, I guess her mom took a video of her watching qualifying yesterday, and she was like, he's powered by unicorns.
Oh my gosh.
It was very cute. Who else? Yuki had a really good race. It was interesting seeing the battle between Yuki and Liam at the end of the race, because they're basically, rumor has it, battling for the whatever seat is left over next year. They're basically battling for it. Unfortunately, I think they're both talented drivers in different ways, and I think that the Red Bull group has done their damage with them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In Yuki's post-race interview, he doesn't seem himself.
He hasn't seen himself all season. Like, there's been a genuine, like, misery around Yuki.
Like, he honestly sounds not just miserable, like he just sounds, I don't know how to, like, defeated. Like,
Yeah,
even though even though it was a
sure.
good race for him, like, and he ended up, and this is his best results this season, top 6. It's still, like, watching it, like, broke my heart, because it was like, this isn't Yuki.
I do think, on a positive note, his performance has been stronger. I think it's good that he has the relationship with Mekis that he does. You know, time will tell, but I hope that
he has a really good rest of the season. I think he needs it.
Yeah. So, I think these last few empty seats are going to be interesting to see how these teams move. Apparently, it was announced that Flavio Briatore was stated saying that the seat is between Franco Colapinto and Paul Aaron, which, you know, not sure what's going on over there. You know, I think what they did to Jack Doohan is crazy. Like, I think it's just another not positive way to run something that is, you know, like, the drivers are the brand, you know, and when you're just throwing them away and tossing them away,
It doesn't look great.
It doesn't look great.
Well, especially with Alpine, like, okay, 2 years ago, we had all found out that they had all these, like, huge Hollywood celebrity investors. We haven't heard one peep about those investors this whole season. And my thought process is one of the reasons why Franco was such, like, a hot item over the last year is because he comes with a lot of sponsors. He comes with a lot of money. And if Alpine doesn't have those investors anymore, where are you going to get the money? You need someone who's bringing a lot of sponsors. And so I think that's why Franco was the right choice for them.
Yeah.
Which is annoying that, like, that is what drives teams to choose drivers, but it is what it is.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Anybody else to comment on their performance this weekend?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was It
was exciting in the sense of, like, quali was just insane. And then, I feel like we're getting to the end of the season. I mean, there's a handful of races left.
We're not at the point yet where I think everybody hates each other and everybody needs a break.
No, but
we're not quite there yet.
We're not there yet, but I think a lot of the fight seems to be fading fast.
Yeah, like the actions are not, like, the people are not aggressive now.
Yeah.
Like, the excitement and the aggression from the beginning of the season it's really interesting to watch a whole season and, like, notice the difference between how people drive at the beginning, how they are in the middle, and towards the end.
I also feel like people are exhausted. Like, I don't think there was a true summer break this year. It was only 3 weeks. Normally it's like a full month.
Yeah.
There's been a few of these weird 2-week breaks. And it's a long season. It's like, it's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to mention, it was announced this past week that Carlos's team, I don't remember her name, so forgive me for that, but apparently there has been a woman who used to work in Formula E. I can't remember what team she worked for. But she's another Spanish person, and she is now joining Carlos's team, which is really exciting because I believe she's had the teams that she was on in Formula E. They've had, like, a lot of success, and so we're having another person who's quite successful joining Williams, and it's interesting because the car is going to become a lot more electric next year, and so bringing someone over from Formula E who has experience, obviously, with electric race cars is going to be a really interesting tidbit.
Yeah, no, I think it's, I think it's positive, love to see female representation, and apparently her position is, like, directly beneath his
performance engineer.
Yeah, like, but I think
she is his performance engineer.
I don't know if she's his performance engineer or she's working directly underneath his current race engineer. I'm not sure.
I can't remember. She's got a high up position.
Yeah. So
I think she's important. I think she's working directly underneath his race engineer as his performance engineer.
But not in the same sense of, like, the trainers that they all work with.
No. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
I'm excited to see how that goes. Anything else that you can think of?
No.
So next race is in Singapore. We're going to try our very best to get an episode out for you guys for getting ready for Singapore. It's probably going to be in the middle of the week, like right before the race weekend actually happens, because I'll be on vacation next week. We'll film right when I get back.
Yeah.
Singapore is a very exciting race. I hope y'all are very excited for it. We have 1 weekend off. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.